Alrighty, hello every folks, and welcome to the Tactics Ogre Pacifist run. Which Tactics Ogre? Yes. So the thing is, I'm bad at math. So when I was going and I was counting up the votes, I saw approximately 78% had voted for Reborn, approximately somehow 17% voted for One Vision, a few folks voted for PSP, and there were several additional mentions asking why the SNES version wasn't considered. So to that end, I figured the only way to actually reach the maximum vote count possible is to just do all of them. So that's the plan going forward here. Now, when it comes to pacifism, obviously this can mean different things for every one of these games. Everything from the way that units perceive your actions, to the stuff that's available to you, to how many deaths you can prevent, essentially through inaction, and how many deaths you can prevent through your direct actions, as well as how we're potentially counting up things like self-sacrificing. Basically, there's a lot of ways that stuff can be potentially interpreted, and pretty much no matter what way we go about it, somebody will be pissed off. It sucks for them, but let's go ahead and move on here. So, the general plan here is just to be basically as far as pacifist as possible as far as I see it, which to my end means ending the conflict with as few casualties as humanly possible. So, for example, let's say we take a look at One Vision and its introduction, where in One Vision's case, the units are going to hit particularly hard regardless of whether or not their equipment has been removed. So, in the case of the intro, it actually would be far more beneficial for us to actually go ahead and steal Lance's sword and kill off the leaders as quickly as possible to end the fight before they themselves can choke everybody to death. So, as far as I'm concerned, in that case, the direct violent option would be more pacifist than the option of sitting by and letting everybody else die. So that's the way I'm going to consider it here. This also essentially means that we're going to be going for as few friendly casualties as possible, but if, for example, a friendly unit is sacrificed for the purpose of saving somebody else, that will essentially be allowed as well. So we're not going to go and instantly restart if somebody dies. It is essentially a war game after all, but we're not going to go out of our way to cause any additional deaths either. We're going to try to save as many as possible, but there will be a lower emphasis on saving our own people in the interest of sort of the, I guess you could say, whole kind of a Catholic idea there of trying to sacrifice yourself to save others. I say Catholic idea, it's just like a religious idea in general. I guess in general it's just a, you save yourself, or you save somebody else by sacrificing yourself kind of thing. It's just a general good type of thing to do in, well, some situations. It depends. Honestly, I would say it's morally arguable in some cases, but at any rate, I'm hoping you get the general idea. So we're just going to try to do this as pacifist as possible. Just know, as we're going into this whole thing, that the entire series was designed with pacifism in general being something that is intentionally designed not to be possible. So when I was originally thinking about this run several years ago, I'd asked the director of the games there, Matsuno, at least most of the games anyway, why it was that I was getting getting an additional kills when it was the AI that was going and killing off enemy units. So, for example, my original thing was the usual video gamey version of it, where you would charm enemies to go fight themselves, or you would use enemy units to handle the kills for you. And basically their response was, well, because that kill count is the public perception of the things that you've been doing. That the public knows that, you know, hey, my relatives got sent over there, and they didn't come back, and that asshole was the one that was standing on the other side, so he clearly must be responsible. This is why the story of all of these games is essentially told from the perspective of, well, what you're seeing. It's told from the conversations and the implications that you can get from the people in front of you. So, for example, people will be lying to each other, but at the same time, they will be essentially sharing information from their perspective as well. But additionally, you have the Warren reports, which are giving you the public perspective of everything that's going on. It's essentially a gigantic web of confusion, but what I wanted to do was achieve essentially as close to the most pacifist run possible as I could. Again, it's not going to be absolute perfection, and I'm glad to hear any additional arguments for ways that certain things could have gone one way or the other, including the almost inevitable arguments of somehow Law Route is the most pacifist because it prevented other casualties somewhere else. I don't see it, but I have seen those arguments made before, so either way, you know, hopefully we'll see some discussion from this one, and let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we begin our adventure here on the PS1 version. So Classic, Tactics Ogre Classic came out on multiple different platforms. originally came out on the SNES or Famicom, depending on which part of the world you were in. It was then ported over kind of somewhat simultaneously to the PS1 and Saturn. All these versions, functionally speaking, had the same balance. However, there was technically a hard mode added to Saturn. As a bit of a preface to this whole thing, I did actually originally start recording this on the Saturn version, only to then realize that the Saturn version does not actually have a friggin' kill counter for some reason. So that was a thing. And additionally, it had a few weird quirks in terms of loading screens that lasted for way longer than I'd like, and stuff like that. And additionally, I just like the quality of life features of the PS1 version, so here we are. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Again, just so you know, most of the differences between these different versions are primarily going to be cosmetic, and I'm talking specifically about the classic versions. The number of people that seem to think that somehow classic directly translated into Reborn, like that this version had skills and this version had big elemental counters. Dude, this version had none of that. If there was a kind of description of the entire series as a family tree, the original classic version here would functionally be the kind of mentally deteriorating grandpa that's got a lot of interesting war stories, and you really love to hear them talk, but my God, do they have some interesting takes sometimes, as well as you're not really quite sure that they're there half the time. So let's go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, the tutorial. It is a very clear sign of the times here that when we look at the tutorial in this version, it primarily is essentially several different lessons back to back explaining that you can move your units forward in this chess game and attack things and kill things, and if you lose a unit, that they die. Additionally, for some reason, it then also has a section going over revival mechanics, which you won't actually have access to until the final chapter of the game. And additionally, we have a section about online help. Now, interesting little trivia bit here. The PS1 version did actually have an online contest back in the day where somebody would get a helmet for being the first one to find the Fire Crest in Palace of the Dead. However, apparently no one actually claimed that until way later than they expected, for one thing, and also when they mean online help, what they mean is the fact that you can hit the select button to receive online help because you are on that line. Anyway, very clear sign of the times. Let's go ahead and move on. So Warren wishes us a nice day, and we get into the classic character creation. So character creation in these games is different every single time. In this particular case, this is going to be a very heavily kind of elemental-themed character creation thing, even though the elements themselves don't actually matter too much in the kind of overall combat balance of this one, but we'll get to that as we get there. So we're going to go ahead and start off sometime. I'm assuming this one's probably going to be up by like the 20th or something of April, so we'll go ahead and get it started there. Alright, so we get asked multiple questions. For the sake of context, in the SNES version, this is all bizarrely truncated into only giving you a few of these answers in every single section, making it a little bit likely that somebody would have just picked going down the list one after another, not realizing that they could actually shift pages. But either way, you're being asked by the elements what your prayer is, what you're offering them, and kind of what you're, more or less what you're thinking. So, what is your prayer? Well, I would really hope that the wind stays nice and windy out there so that it dries out our backyard. It is currently a complete muddy mess. What is your offering? A flourishing bit of grass, if we can finally get that to stay. And what is your vow? I would love it. I would love if that would happen. So what is your prayer to fire? It would be, and I love turning on fast forward, by the way, to make it go crazy. It would be ideal if that same could happen as before. What is your offering? Revenge against the mud. I don't know how, but somehow I'll find a way. What is your vow? Whatever sacrifice you need to keep that sun out there, please make it stop raining. Okay, Goddess of the Earth, what is your prayer? A prayer of absolute hatred towards the mud, please. What is your offering? Peace with whatever you have in there. We'll love every spider forever if you would just do that. And what is your vow? We'll probably stick to that. Alright. And then what the water goddess shows up, the patron patron deity of Michigan. What is your prayer? It would be glorious if you would just piss off. What is your offering? Victory of whatever kind you like. What is your vow? I don't know how rain fits in here. Just whatever, figure something out. And then we'll go fire here, I guess, because I never actually go with fire. So at this point, we'll go ahead and turn on fast forward as a sort of modern-day fix to cutscene skips, because this game does not have it, and my god, do the cutscenes go on a while. So in this particular case, we're actually going to go ahead and we are going to answer positively to almost all of their questions. It won't make too much of a difference in this initial section, but it'll make sense as we go on. So we'll go ahead and end our turn. Here we go. So we'll go ahead and end our turn there. They're going to go ahead and attack, yada, yada, yada. So, the main reason for this is because these starting questions will not really make much of a difference in this first entry. In Classic, these starting questions are just kind of there to let you know that the questions exist, so we're just going to mostly skip through this stuff. If we get to the section where they ask us whether we want their help, we'll tell them no, because obviously we're trying to be as peaceful as possible. It won't make a difference, but hey, we can at least put that out there, you know? Okay. Apparently I accidentally hit the button at the wrong time, but whatever, they're going to go ahead and help us. We'll pretend we did the other answer. It'll never come up again. Let's go ahead and carry on. Okay. So one of the cool things about this version, as you might have told by, or might have noticed from the fact that Vice called Casualty a bitch, is the fact that the PS1 version in particular is extraordinarily vulgar compared to most of the rest of the genre, where essentially they went pretty nutty with just kind of letting them do whatever with the translation, and it is very, very westernized. So where, for example, Canopus is going and introducing Warren, and he describes him as an old fart. It's just interesting. Also, I really love this particular kind of almost Rolodex entry version of your characters. It's just fun. Anyway, so the main reason that we actually went for this particular version is, again, that kill counter in the top right. So currently it is at kill 0. So when it comes to the classic version, the main thing that's going to matter is the fact that we keep all of the kills of all of our units at 0. So if a guest character is there and we can save them, we will. If they get a kill, we no longer have the option to save them anymore. Makes sense? I hope so. But that's kind of the logic that we're going to be going for here. That we're just going to go for the lowest body count possible, but additionally, when it comes to hiring units, if they are innocent, we can hire them. If they are not, then we cannot, because then we would take those kills onto ourselves, so to speak. Anyway, so let's go ahead and hop to it. Normally, I would have covered this on something like a PSP or Vita, but frankly, this game in particular, this version in particular, is like terrifyingly slow. So no, I'm going to need some fast-forward action on this, please, because this is already going to be long enough. When I did this without fast-forward on the Saturn version, for the sake of context, the video, the very first episode, was 3.5 hours long. So, if you don't mind, I think we're going to do this on fast-forward. Fantastic. Good talk. Good talk. Glad we had this conversation. All right, so we're going to go ahead and wait right there, and I'm also going to go ahead and switch to the up and down menu for the purpose of avoiding some of these a little bit. So one thing I should mention. You might be wondering what the deal is with sticking back and letting all of these guys get slaughtered, because that is still 3 casualties that we did nothing to stop. And how is this pacifist? As strange as it sounds from what I've seen running this map multiple times, this is as pacifist as it gets here. One way or another, the White Knights and Canopus are going to get those initial kills, and whoever lands touches instantly gets vaporized. He is extraordinarily overpowered. There's no way we can get over there in time. If we try to attack lands and even try to go for some kind of ridiculously bizarre crit or something, even if we did somehow have the means to one-shot him, he actually does, guaranteed 100% of the time, have the means to turn around and one-shot us in return. So yeah, we can't really make him retreat. We can't take off any of their equipment. So for the time being, our only option is to stick back and hope that it'll make the AI aggressive enough that Bapal decides to go charge forward. It's the only option that we have on hand. So we go into the second map, and it's the same thing. Again, the classic version does not have a whole lot in terms of variability in terms of the way that stuff functions. It's generally a decent bit more scripted than the other ones, and it's generally it isn't as random by any means. So, like, for example, once we get to the PSP version, they'll have random spawns on every one of the characters. They'll have different things that they can potentially be equipping. They'll have slight variations in terms of their skills. Like, they will have the same skills technically, but for example, if they come in equipping both swords and axes, this will mean that they have a slight difference in terms of the equipment that they might be equipping at any given time. Their levels might be slightly different based on yours. There's a lot of kind of asterisks up there in the air, right? So that's as quick as that particular section goes, and yeah. So all we can do is sit and watch as they proceed to go on about this slaughter. All right, so we get our first order here, and obviously we're going to be the order of surrender. This will remain for all of them. So here we go, order of surrender. Nope. Here, let's. What can we do? Let's just go ahead and put DR here. It's funny because this came up with the other version too, but for some reason I only now get reminded of it. Thanks, Brain. You're absolutely working overtime today. Alright, so we get to the main frustrating thing about your initial starting units right away, given the fact that they are equipped in exactly the worst, most confusing possible way. So, let me explain why this irritates me so much. Back in Ogre Battle, you had your dudes that were the sword and shield guy. You had your ladies that were the bow people, right? So the logical thing to do, considering that the female units have a dexterity bonus and male units have a strength bonus, would be, you know, give these guys the sword and shield, give these guys the bow and sword here. Because, like, this, perfect. Absolutely perfect. It's not going to be much of a difference, but it's still sticking with the archetypes already established in the first game. Now, what's weird about this is that for some reason they decided to go for a complete mixed bag approach on all of them. So you get, for example, 2 sword and shield ladies, and then 2 sword and bow ladies, and same thing for the dudes. Now, the reason that this is confusing is the fact that visually they look the same. So this basically means that you would have to manually go out of your way to separate those out and or just resort them out in a different way, because this guy looks like more of a frontline fighter, these units look like more of a backline fighter. I don't care about the whole guy-girl thing, I just mean, like, visually, this looks more like a ranged unit, this looks more like a frontline unit. They got the helmet, this one does not have a helmet. What's that headband gonna do? Are they gonna flex hard enough to make a sword go away? I mean, granted, all of these guys are equally flimsy, but I'm just saying, these guys look like more of the frontliner thing. It's just, it's a weird layout. Anyway. It's like one of those bizarre, almost OCD type situations. So we have a few options available to us right away. Technically, we could go to, for example, Goliath here, and there's a small chance that we would end up encountering a Griffin here. There's really no reason that we'd want to hire one, aside from the fact that we could. I usually just go into the shop here to see if that particular birthday was potentially enough to get us a Griffin right from the get-go. It was not. But Classic is a bit more lenient with the types of units that you can recruit from the shops. You can technically sell monster units to shops, but you can also recruit those units at the shops. You just have to train them in order to sell them. So this kind of gives you a sort of, I guess, taming mini-game of sorts. But you've got several unit types available to you right from the get-go, from Hawkmen to Octopi to Griffins to, I think, I don't think you can get fairies yet. But either way, you get a kind of... oh, golems, that was the other one. You get an additional kind of heavy unit of some variety that can pop up in these maps. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up one golem for now. What do we want to name this guy? Probably just Jacko, like I usually name him, because they look like Jack-O from Armored Core. But either way, we'll just call him Jack, I guess, because I don't feel like looking for the O right now. Also, last time, for some reason, somebody assumed that the O was shortened and there were 2 Fs missing. That's not what that is. It's supposed to be like a nickname, like Steve-O, I guess. Anyway. If you hear puppy noises in the background, by the way, I apologize for that. The little pups, they're getting into the stage right now where they're extremely noisy sometimes. Like, they will just be taking a nap, and then just one of them will get up and start yelling at the other ones. It is not ideal, but, you know, it's kind of whatever. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at our options here. So at this point, we still can't do anything with Cashua or Vice, but we can go ahead and give some additional options to our other guys here. There's nothing special about this unit. I just like to have a heavy unit in the party. And additionally, all of these soldiers are mostly going to be shifting around as time goes on. We'll eventually be shifting everybody to ranged attacks, but for the time being, we're just trying to, again, achieve as few casualties as possible right from the get-go here. So we're going to leave most of them as they are. I would like to get more shields for them, and actually I probably will just go ahead and start off with getting some bows and shields for them. So let's go to the store here. We pick up a few shields. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of options that are available to us. So how many would you like to have? Let's just go ahead and pick up 4 of these, as well as 4 short bows. So just so you know, when it comes to these weapons that they're getting, these shields that they're getting, the main idea is that we're taking counterattack away from our units. So, I didn't mean to buy... Stop buying more! I'm trying to leave! The controls are not ideal in this game. Basically, you have to continue mashing the confirm button until you can get the option to use your cancel button. You can't just use the cancel button to continue canceling through dialogue. Sometimes it just makes you buy more stuff. So we don't have any classes that can actually cast anything as of yet. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and go to every one of our people. We're just going to go ahead and give them a short bow, and then we're going to go ahead and give them a shield. This means that they still have the means of attacking, but they don't necessarily... they won't necessarily be running around kind of slaughtering everything, so to speak, and additionally won't have a counterattack. So we'll go ahead and do that for you. We'll go ahead and give you your short bow. You can go ahead and keep your other thing for the time being. Go ahead and replace this with a shield. Replace this with a bow. There's a very, again, very just confusing loadout of stuff. It bothers me more than it probably should. And this lady, I guess, is just going to be our dedicated archer coming in with 2 short bows. They're just that into it. Okay. So with that done, we need to get into this fight, and ideally we need to save as many of our people while also trying to kill as few of the enemy as possible. And let's go ahead and hop to it here. So, unfortunately, that golem will be very useless for a very long time. The thing is, you can't get a whole lot of experience on them considering that their accuracy is absolutely awful. So I'm going to try to train that guy up because I'd like to have a just physical wall if I can. I feel like it's something that will come in handy. So as far as our pacifism options are concerned, we have a few things available to us here. So some of these are going to be unusual. So for example, technically, we do actually have the option fairly early on to use a spell that will thoroughly disable a unit for the entire fight. And on paper, that seems like the way to go. However, I want it to be noted that that same spell, Petrify, is actually something that directly causes a unit to die in Ogre Battle 64. So as far as I'm concerned, leaving a unit petrified at the end of a fight is just death. Okay, so it's basically established through the series that it's essentially a type of attack that will kill somebody if they're left in that state, but it won't kill them if it's taken away soon enough, but it will leave them permanently disabled. It's also worth noting that it's somewhat confirmed in this one as well, because at the end of the fight, if there's only petrified units, the fight is just considered done. So it's assumed that they died. I don't believe they actually count for the kill count, but I don't know that for sure because I don't think it tracks who cast the petrify in the first place. So we'll go ahead and slow it down here, and just so you know, we do technically have a diplomacy option available to us already. So this first episode is only going to be going up to Tynemouth Hill for every one of our units, and essentially this one will go ahead and end with Tynemouth Hill completed. But in order to save as many units as possible from Canopus, what we need is essentially to let them get injured, but then have Denim approach in order to actually recruit them. So our best odds of success will actually be to shield bash Denim to wherever he needs to be in order to hopefully prevent as many casualties as possible. The sooner that we can end the fight, the better. So we'll, again, be paying attention to that as we carry on. But as it stands, we're just focusing on recruiting more than anything else. Unfortunately, there's going to be very little that these soldiers can actually do versus Orba, who in this version in particular is extraordinarily overpowered for some reason. The boss units, or the leader units in general, in SNES felt very self-conscious about potentially getting one-shot. So oftentimes they're given unreasonable durability bonuses, especially when it comes to the casters. The casters just feel absolutely unreal in terms of their physical durability. So like every one of our soldiers with bows here, they would basically do like 4 damage versus that guy right now. So it really does not benefit us very much at all. And again, another little detail I want to mention here is that even on hard mode, we would not necessarily get any additional issues during this particular fight, because even in hard mode's case, he actually still comes in at the same level. He comes in with the same durability, all of that kind of thing. So it is what it is. But currently, the plan is just to attempt to fire on this guy as much as possible. These guys are technically going to be getting injured at some point. Where is the one that was injured? I know Canopus attacked somebody. Apparently not. Anyway. Whatever, we'll deal with that. Yeah, even our main character can deal 1 damage to this guy. Just to give you an idea of how frickin' durable he is. Yeah, it's not exactly an ideal situation, but either way, we'll, again, play it by ear. So our advanced archer here, with their additional bonuses, courtesy of their bow, will be doing a whopping 4 damage. I would assume this one will probably be the same way. So one thing that's also worth noting is the fact that this game actually does have the same bonus that was available in Reborn, where if a unit is knocked back into something, it's an additional 10 damage. Now, in a lot of cases, this won't matter, but in cases like this one, where you do no damage at all, a tower shield is a way to still get some damage through, which we'll take advantage of if he is in a position to be damaged in that particular way. That one unit over there seems to be dramatically stronger than everybody else for whatever reason. So yeah, we'll observe that situation as it comes. Actually, that lady too is also unusually strong. It's kind of odd. Oh yeah, so I mentioned earlier that we have some negotiation options available to us. So to that end, we actually have Denim. He is the only one that's able to use Recruit, but as a bit of a cop-out here, Recruit does actually work on everybody. So whenever we want to see, let's say, a skeleton recruited in the early parts of the game, that will allow for basically anyone, or sorry, that will allow for Denim to basically go and talk to just about anyone there. Now, in the interest of giving this guy a little bit of experience, we're going to go ahead and have, oh wow, never mind, she would kill him. Oh boy. That's how good golems are in this game. Oh man. Like, once you get them up high enough, their vitality gets a chance to shine, but this early, oh boy, they are bad. Additionally, counterattack mechanics are fairly basic in this one, so when a unit goes and punches somebody, they basically will get a counterattack from any angle. That won't necessarily be a factor. The reason that I mention this is because in Knight of Lotus, attacking from the back does cause you to be able to get a free attack off. Alright, Persuade, what are our odds? Okay, there we go. She succeeds. Perfect. Alright, and this is just how we're going to continue on here. So we see a unit get injured, we go ahead and we talk to them, and then hopefully we can prevent Canopus from getting a kill, and then whoever does have to finally get the kill on this guy here will just be fired. This is a thing somebody recommended a little bit of a while ago, so thank you to that person. And yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to go ahead and use a Cure Leaf on Bruno here, so that we don't have to talk about him dying. And if you're wondering what's with the constant misclicks, by the way, it's because of the controls in this game. They are very unfortunate, to say the least. You basically have your, what would be the equivalent of your double tap X on your triangle, which is also occasionally the equivalent of circle and or B. You have your your confirm on what would normally be your X, which would be your B if you are a Nintendo fan, but then at the same time, your circle is your usual cancel, except for those other situations when it isn't, and now it is triangle. And yeah, on top of this, you're trying to do it in fast forward, so it gets complicated. Alright. What's funny is that there's barely any stat difference between any of these units here, and yet all the same, they are going to be doing pretty vastly different amounts of damage here. Oh no! Okay, so we lost a guy already, and Vice ended up killing a guy. So we can't recruit Vice, so Law is already off the table, even if somebody makes the case for it. So Vice is just going to be eliminated, and this actually gets us to another annoying complication that will come about from this game here, which is the fact that we actually cannot control any units that we hire. So this means that we're more than likely going to be running into those situations where we hire somebody and they automatically kill somebody, so yeah. It's a very bloodthirsty island, you know? People are just kind of wild like that here. We'll probably make use of that to our advantage in some situations, but it definitely won't be all of them. Alright, hopefully we can avoid any more casualties from our end here. Just trying to get this guy taken out. We just need you gone, man. How are you this durable? You're just an old man in a bathrobe. What gives? What is your deal? This guy must work out like crazy. Alright. Take another shot. This is our best archer over here, so TR is apparently our ace archer here. And just so you know, classes in this one do not work like they will for every single other game that we'll be covering on this pile, where they will be a combination of stats and alignment. Technically, stats and alignments will still be part of the Knight of Lotus system, but it will also include other elements in that as well, and then later on it will be simply shifted over to class marks in whatever form you can get them. And what's funny is that no matter how many times the system changed, somebody complained that the new change was less complex than the old change. So, yeah. Now, Canopus is allowed to join us because he currently has no deaths, and Sharon, I don't know if she did, but on the plus side, we can now go through our army and we can see who did what. Looking at the time now, it's great to see that this is already 1/3 as long as the original was. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to our class change option. So who has a kill here? So we've got 1 kill on Robert. Unfortunately, Robert, you are no longer welcome. Be careful at night when there's no moon. I mean, that's exactly what I would expect from a killer like you, frankly. And, let's see. Oh, shoot. Well, Canopus, I'm sorry. You are fired as well. Are you omitting Canopus? Really? This is a joke, isn't it? Are you serious? Sir, you appear to have committed a murder, and that is just not going to fly. So goodbye. I mean, I know you fly, but in general, the concept is not going to fly. And additionally, there's Vice, but we cannot kill him yet. We will later, indirectly, but either way, we can't do that as of yet. Also, it's really funny that the zoom in and out button is the save load button for Knight of Lotus. That's where my brain keeps going to. So we'll go ahead and save that one there. And that is Tynemouth cleared, or Tonmus in this case, cleared in Classic. Now let's move on to Knight of Lotus. Alright, so next up on the list is going to be Knight of Lotus. So this one is going to be the GBA version of Tactics Ogre, basically the prequel to the others, wherein you are, well, playing one of the characters from Let Us Cling Together there. However, you are playing them from back in the day, back before, back before they became a little bit of different dude. We'll get to that more a little bit later, but we'll go ahead and call this guy Chatty Jr. and go from there. Technically, they would be everyone's senior, but it's fine, whatever, details. So, birthday is going to be April whatever. Sure, that's a number. Alright, we're not going for any particular start, but we're going to go ahead and just kind of go with whatever's here. And additionally, I went ahead and changed the settings this time to look a bit more like a classic GBA, so we'll see how that goes. Alright, so with the start in this one, we get a fortune teller reading. This is going to be a classic for the series going forward, but which one do we want to deal with? We're going to go ahead and say sacrifice. This one won't affect what we're doing that much. Alright, the Wanderer asks, walk which path? In this case, this does matter. So Belief will give us the Miracle Emblem, which you normally get by surviving a fatal hit at 5% health. Longevity will give us Fist Fight, which will give us access to essentially endgame weapon damage coming out of our fist. We've got Wealth, which will give us access to Embodiment of Desires, which is an emblem that will give us basically just better loot table drops whenever we're picking up a hidden item off the ground. And then Freedom will give us Arbitration, which is what we're going to use to go talk some people down. Other than that, we're just going to go ahead and simply mash through these options and continue on. So the rest of them don't necessarily matter, and I'm just kind of curious what that'll give us specifically. We can't skip through this intro, so once again, we are going for the classic fast forward and button mash approach. Yeah, so this game, despite the fact that it was made for the GBA, is actually a way more technically advanced version of the previous one. It may be shorter, there may not be as many dialogue choices or anything, but it does have a hell of a lot more going on under the hood. It definitely goes a decent bit harder into all the simulation stuff that the first one didn't necessarily manage to pull off. Okay, so first and foremost, for this intro, the starting party is not necessarily that tough, but we don't even get the option to mess with anybody ahead of time. However, what we can do is potentially cause Richter to be out of the fight for a little bit. So what we're going to go for is a shield bash. This is not going to have the best odds of success, only 80%, but if we can knock him out of the way, it will hopefully cause him to go for more heals, rather than necessarily going into attempting to hit something with his spell there. I'm going to constantly get mentally confused over which spell does what exactly, because, well, frankly, it's just, there's different versions in every one of these games, and I have a cold, so that's, you know, just not great. Okay, so what we're going to do in this case is we're going to go ahead and travel over this direction, and we're going to attempt to shield bash him down here. We'll go ahead and knock him down. I love the animations in this game. Frankly, Knight of Lotus really went to town on the animations. Like, they knew that the game would run a bit slower than the others, but hot damn, do they really go out of their way to make sure that the animations look good. Like, the shield bash animation, it had additional kind of versions back in the other version there, back in Classic. But in this one in particular, they really went out of their way to make sure that there's a lot of specific custom animations for a lot of different things. So, like, for example, the knockdown animation on the shield, if they're attacking somebody that's already above, they'll have an animation where they pick it up and they slam it down. As you saw right there, where they see that somebody's going to be dropping at a vertical angle, they'll turn the shield sideways and ram them with it to go throw them off that cliff. If they're just attacking somebody on a level field and they're just pushing them backwards, they'll just run into them with the shield held up. And if there's somebody above them, they will attempt to use the edge of the shield to whack upwards. It's just a wonderful attention to detail. It's one of the many reasons that I really adore Knight of Lotus. It really does not get as much love as it deserves. So anyways, with any luck here, we might be able to save most of these soldiers here by killing this guy. So if we can manage to land this hit right here, we will have successfully spared the lives of all of his soldiers. Otherwise, we're in a bit of trouble. So Shield Bash will give us a 62% odds of success. Our sword will basically do the same, but just in the interest of it's slightly more pacifist, we're going to attempt to go for the shield here. Oh, for God's sake. Really? You low-rolled it? Really? Okay, well, that guy earned himself a miracle emblem anyway. Okay, well... Yeah. Technically, only one casualty, but we also accidentally got a second starting emblem. Whoops. That would have been really impressive for a second there, until it wasn't. Either way, at least it's technically only two additional... Well, actually, I guess technically one additional casualty, because the other one was mandatory, so it is what it is. So yeah, not really a great start, but we did spare some of them, so an effort was made. Also, the dating scene on this island is amazing. You simply go ahead and get yourself shot, instantly married. It's just how it works around here. Yeah, it's weird. One of the only fleshed out actual like romance plots of the entire series happens right here. Like for some reason, this is just where it takes place in the GBA game of all places. So there's not too much that we're going to be able to do since we don't have access to a party menu just yet, but we can attempt to try and spare as many of the soldiers as we can here in Scabellum. So what we're going to do is we're going to... Oh, oops. Apparently it tripped its way up to the top there. We're going to go ahead and move our way up to the top here. We're going to attempt to, well, use none of what we've got. Actually, come to think of it, let's go ahead and shut off the speed up real quick. What did I start with? Looks like we got additional strength, additional agility. So we got the split speed strength start, so that's not bad. And then we have self-preservation, which is awful for this run, actually. That's just going to be a mark of shame through the entire thing. Which is, I mean, honestly, it's fitting. Knight of Lotus is known for its marks of shame. But the speed start, this actually would have been the one time when that speed start would have been perfect, since we did actually end up scoring some unlikely hits there in the beginning. So this game actually boils down the stats that you get from the absolutely massive list that we had in the classic version and the even longer list we'll have in the other versions. Down to 3 stats, more or less. So we have strength, which is going to be just your physical power in all things. We've got agility, which is just going to be your speed and dodging and everything else like that. And additionally, actually, we're going to go ahead and try to save your life, sir. The shield is our best friend. It is going to be our ultimate weapon to try and save as many people as we can here. Because we can't actually discuss anything just yet. We will have the means to learn how to talk to people, but we have to learn that from Ivana first. Anyway, what was I saying here? So, totally lost my train of thought. Wonderful. Either way, we have a few options here, but most of them involve just getting close to the leader here. But as far as emblems go, this game actually has several emblems. Oh, God. No, stop. We need to get that sword off him as soon as possible, and we need to just get him disarmed as soon as possible. So, yeah, self-preservation has turned him into an absolute monster for counterattacks. So he literally cannot help himself. He must kill. So we're going to have to go ahead and dissuage his murderous intent as much as we can. We'll skip through this cutscene here, but yeah, this game loves its marks of shame. So for example, like the Don Quixote emblem, if you take most of your health in a counterattack, you get an emblem that prevents you from getting crits as a lesson to you to stop playing stupid. I love that. This game is so good. Okay. Whoops. There we go. Sorry, I hit the wrong button there, and apparently also took a screenshot. So at this point, we get the troops that we started with. This is actually the worst... Oh, man. We got Anal the Wizard, and we got Sierra the Archer. Sierra's going to be fine. Archers are generally low power, high accuracy. That'll help us out a decent bit for getting stuff into proper ranges. And then we've got our soldiers here. As it stands, can we turn you into anything else? Because you are basically useless to us in this form. Actually, no, we do have a use for him. We're actually going to go back to the church real quick and make a few adjustments. Additionally, if we can turn you into literally anything else, he can become a wizard, I guess. That doesn't really help us any. Can make his movement go up, but his vertical movement, I don't think that changes. So what we need is a ninja or a fairy. So this actually changes a few things. So let's go ahead and go to the shop here real quick. So a little bit like Classic, this version also gives you the option to hire additional units at the shop. There will be two variants that are available in every shop. So in this case, we've got access to that that octopus over there, and we will also have access to fairies as well as actually, come to think of it, let's go ahead and level up this fairy. We'll have access to fairies as well as a few other things, including hawkmen. So we'll just go ahead and bring back an old classic here in terms of Steve the fairy. They're going to be the pacifist fairy. We're just going to say they're Steve Senior. So there we go. They've gotten wise in their old age. They're still chaotic, but they've gone from fire to water, and they're now a pacifist. Don't question it. It's fine. For those unfamiliar with Steve the Murder Fairy, it's just a dumb meme that we came up with back in the day for the fairy-only run. Anyway, so let's go ahead and give them some equipment, an axe, because of course, and additionally, let's go ahead and... We have no additional armor. Okay, so money is generally much tighter in this one, so... Let's see what we can get here. I mean, obviously we need the shield, because we're going to want that. For our fairy there. Some armor would be nice so they don't just randomly die, and additionally, these will be fine for the moment. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this unit set up. The reason that we actually needed them set up here is for the purpose of getting a better shield. So we actually have a shield that we can get a hold of over here in Scabellum. To that end, we're actually going to hop into training real quick, and because I don't want things to be cheesy, we're not really going to be, like, abusing training or whatever else, but I will be getting this shield anyway, because, you know, drops and things. So I'm gonna have Mr. Chatty here go ahead and pick up a few items on this map. Additionally, we're gonna have Steve go over here and pick up this dragon shield. It's just one of the best shields in the game. It doesn't necessarily change too much as far as the game is concerned. You just kind of it's a moral obligation to go pick up this dang shield, right? Additionally, because we're going to be doing a lot of chatting, Chatty here is going to just go ahead and use this item for additional experience as well as additional speed. So, there's that. Now, the item that we need is over here, so we're going to go ahead and hit that on standby. You're going to go over here, and I believe it's this tile right here that has it. I don't know what the hell they just picked up because I forgot to turn off fast forward. We'll find out in a moment. Yeah, generally I find that the item economy in this one is probably one of the best. It's actually one of those things that I really praised Tactics Ogre Reborn for, because the item economy feels very similar to Knight of Lotus. Anyway, let's go ahead and see this equipment. So first of all, because the shield is going to be our best friend. Oh, we picked up a claymore. Nice. So, is that nice? Because does that really help us any? Anyway, whatever. Preposterously high defense. There we go. You are now all shields and no offense. You are never counterpunching anything. Alos, I guess we'll give you a claymore. That is a pretty friggin' significant jump in your power there. You'll also notice that in this version, everyone can just kind of use their items. They don't need anything special for it. Additionally, we'll have an Yol over there switch himself back into into a basic soldier because we have no need for his class whatsoever. So in the case of the wizard, they are primarily just an attack unit. So we have no reason to use them whatsoever, seeing as well, I mean, we won't really need a wizard for that particular purpose, but what I will do is actually attempt to get multiple witches. So I'm actually going to hire one more female unit at the shop, because I'd like to have one more female soldier. The reason for this is because units of the same type, as well as units that are of a type that that particular type respects, will have a increased chance for being recruited. As far as I'm concerned, this is the best recruitment system in the series. So the way that this works is, like, for example, a soldier talks to another soldier. They are going to have slightly higher odds of about 15%-ish to go recruit that guy, because they're like, hey, dude, you know, I'm a soldier, you're a soldier, you know, we get along, this is, you know, this is pretty neat, you know, this leadership over here is pretty freaking cool, I'm just saying, you might like it over here, got a job opportunity for you. So that soldier goes and talks to somebody, and their default odds are really bad, but they go and they get talked into it by one of their buddies, you know, suddenly it's a bit more appealing for them. And then at the same time, if let's say there was a knight that went and approached them, that knight would have better odds because he is basically just a promoted soldier. He's a guy of a higher rank, but still of a similar kind of overall stature, and so he's talking to them like, hey, look, I'm pretty cool, you're pretty cool, you know, I'm just saying, you can work your way up, you can be like me, you can go join this class. And so this means that that we'll be able to effectively abuse this for being able to convince people to join our side as the game progresses. So this is generally going to be the most talkative and generally going to be the most peaceful of the different routes that we're going to be taking, because everybody's got access to all of their recruit skills innately, and additionally we can get a massive bonus without any additional effort. So for example, with Chatty Jr. here, we're actually going to go ahead and immediately... actually I didn't switch him to a tamer. Okay. Oh, and he actually has, just with that one speed item, he has access to a bunch of new things. Alright, we'll switch him to an archer later. It's actually interesting that he has access to archer already, because he should need the sniper emblem for that. That's weird. Huh. Does he get an exception or something? Because, I mean, normally every archer... Let me double check something real quick. Yeah, okay, so starting units won't have that requirement. Do they? No, it's just agility 37. They don't actually need the sniper emblem. Never mind, sorry. They just get they get better agility from being an archer, though funnily enough, a ninja goes and basically gets the same thing, along with a massive movement boost, along with the ability to use spells, so they're just kind of better in every possible way. It's like, here's the archer, and then it's like, oh, here's the way better archer over here, in the form of the ninja. Alright, anyways, enough chatter, because we've been basically just yammering on about mechanics. Let's go ahead and get to the end of this game's version of Tynemouth Hill. So this game's Tynemouth Hill over here is that little girl that was crying in the intro. She would like revenge for her parents. We were not directly responsible, but we were of the same country that did that, so considering that we're here to basically do the same thing again unknowingly, then, you know, she's a little bit upset at us. So we're going to go ahead and deploy our soldiers out here. I did forget to get one more female soldier. That is my bad. Actually, what I can do is I can go and get Sierra to switch. So we'll go ahead and switch her over back to a basic soldier. She won't be able to go back for a little bit, but that's fine. So we'll have Sierra on here, and this will give us better odds of recruiting a couple of the soldiers. Now, the reason that we're doing this is that same mechanic that I was talking about earlier. Where certain units will just have better odds of recruiting certain other units. And in the case of those female soldiers, if we convince them or if we have them convince a male soldier to switch sides, that will give them the Vixen's Whisperer emblem, which means that once they have enough MP, they will be able to unlock the Witch, which is going to be the most useful class throughout this entire run. Frankly, the Witch is going to be our bread and butter. They're going to be able to completely disable units in our way. They're going to be able to make sure that we're not necessarily threatened by a lot of things that are out there. So yeah, they will be able to shut down entire parties for us, so it's just going to be a good time. So we start off with our 6 units here, and then we go ahead and get into this fight. So she goes on about her revenge. Okay, first things first, let's go ahead and make sure that Chatty Jr. Oh, shoot, wrong tile. That's over here, actually. Well, whatever. We'll have Chatty Jr. pick up that pumpkin in just a moment. The reason we're picking up pumpkins is going to be somewhat clear later. But it involves getting a hold of candy canes. Now, there's no reason to use the candy cane set, aside from this is probably going to be the one run where it's actually almost somewhat justifiably practical. It really still won't be, but it's more so than you would expect. So the candy cane set is a basically unique set that you can get in this game. There's a lot of set effects, but the candy cane set in particular allows you to do this thing where essentially you just regenerate 10 health, or 10% health per round. Again, not exactly very useful, but there's almost no situation where it's actually useful. So in this case, it's at least justifiable. So there's that. Anyway, this should give him embodiment of desires. No, not quite yet. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and use the fairy. Actually, you don't have a bow, do you? No. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and use the fairy to move over, let's say, this direction, and then just kind of wait. So what we want to do is bait them all in, and we also want to make sure to get injured. So the reason we're getting injured is because the AI is very protective of you, and they will attempt to save your life if given the opportunity. The reason that this is beneficial is that it causes us to be able to make sure that Yvonne is not attacking anybody, since we couldn't really take her equipment off yet. At least I don't think we could. Maybe we could, and I just completely whiffed it. I don't know. But either way, what we're going to do is just kind of line everybody up to try and body block the way forward. We're going to have the dudes try to convince the ladies, and we're going to have the ladies try to convince the dudes. Ideally, the perfect scenario coming out of this is that we have 2 female soldiers with Vixen's Whisper, and we have 2 dudes on their way for getting arbitration, because arbitration requires 3 recruitments. If they fail, by the way, if they fail enough times, they will actually end up instead getting the Broken Heart, which will unfortunately cause a different situation in which they now are, well, basically unable to crit. So, just like that Don Quixote emblem I mentioned earlier. Anyway, for the time being, let's go ahead and try to push these guys out of the way. Didn't quite work. Oh well. Let's go ahead and have you move her over this way to try to funnel them in a little bit. One thing that has changed since Classic is that we no longer have access to the 10% or the 10 extra damage from knocking somebody backwards. Let's see. You cannot reach. You can reach that one lady there, but we have no way of actually doing any harm to her. So. We'll just go ahead and see about using him as a setup for this unit. We can't actually hire those guys with the Viking helmets, unfortunately. They are AI only. Okay, so we'll actually have Sierra probably go over here, and what are your odds of recruitment? Because if they're decent, we're going to attempt 2 recruits. Yeah, 13%, I'll take that. That's worth trying. Is it going to work? No, because default odds are anywhere between 0 and 4%, so 13 is actually really, really solid. Okay. Next, why don't you start getting set up versus this one? Just try to at least take a swing and not get too heavily rocked in return. Is he going to be able to do it? He's still got damaged. They'll survive. You'll notice that due to the fact that this one uses a different turn structure, they actually will have... Oh, actually, 6%. Just do it. They'll actually have pretty meaty health bars and defense in general. They do take a counterattack if their persuasion fails, though. The reason that this ends up being really handy is because obviously our units are going to be a bit more tanky. They do still have their counterattacks built in. This will change once PSP rolls around. It changes... I mean, it stays that way for one vision and then changes around even more when you've recruited characters, but you actually haven't, like, fully incorporated them into your team. You can't use an altar on them. Huh. I mean, the situation's never really come up, because why would it? Yeah, in, like, what, 20-something years of playing this game? So, I guess you learn something new every day, huh? So that's unfortunate. So then we had... In total, then, that means that we have the 1 mandatory casualty of the map, but we also have the 2 Vikings that got themselves killed, and then we also had the 1 basic soldier that got himself killed. So that's unfortunate, but again, we still got the emblem for recruiting him, I suppose. In the meantime, we are still trying to get Alos his date over here. He's trying to get Barbara on his side. It has to be him that gets the recruit in this particular situation, because he has to work on his arbitration. We're going to have, again, the dudes work on their arbitration emblems. The ladies already got their Vixen's Whisper. They have a massive advantage when it comes to negotiation. I mean, frankly, that's pretty legit. I would say that sounds about right. As far as natural advantages go, the dudes have an easier time getting access to some of the. Come to think of it, what do they have better access to? Because like they get the when it comes to negotiation, it's like you need 3 recruits as a dude of anything. Whereas for ladies, they can get the same arbitration emblem, but they also can just get Vixen's Whisper, which gives them the Witch, which is one of the best recruiters in the game. So that's that. As far as arbitration goes, I believe that stacks together with Beast Tamer as well as Dragon Tamer, in which case they already have access to it, so they don't need anything particularly special for that, so they get access to it at about the same time. The Dragoon is way harder to get. I guess the Witch immediately gets them. I mean, I guess it's supposed to be the equivalent, kind of. Like, even though Witch and Warlock, although the Warlock requires a special emblem, and also the Siren requires a very similar emblem, so I kind of figured they're more of a... It's more so the Siren and the Warlock that are kind of counterparts here. I am getting completely off track. Anyway, let's go ahead and use our light shield here to go push you forward. Let's go ahead and have you take a swing at this lady again. There we go. And then I'm probably just going to go ahead and kind of cut it real quick, and then come back to the part where we actually have some stuff ready to go. Oh, wow, I can't actually believe that worked. I was kind of bringing in some no movement challenge tech here, and I was trying to push him forward with the bow, and sure enough, it actually worked. I mean, didn't get him his date, but it worked. It's something. But yeah, it'll be a few more rounds probably. All the units that were already going to do any killing have already done killing, so I think we're set to go. Unless our leader is in danger by any chance. Nah, he's fine. Because Ivana's just keeping everybody topped up. If we attack Ivana here, by the way, and get her to critical health, she will just leave. So if we wanted to have her out of the way to make sure she's not attacking anything, that is also technically an option. Please, nobody kill that one soldier. Please, come on. Alos is trying to go on his date. He's trying really badly, but he's trying. You know, give the guy a little credit here. Let's see, Sierra, go ahead and take a bit of a shot at her. See if we can improve these odds a little bit. Just give him some shot here. There we go, down to 10. I almost feel like it's less risky to just have him take the recruit right now, because then she'll survive another volley of attacks and we can give it another go. We can completely max it out next round if we absolutely need to. There we go, 27%, failed. Well, in that case, is anybody so critical that we have to worry? Nope. I think we're pretty safe. Okay. In that case, just end the turn. Oh, a neat little scripting thing, but Cresta will almost always exclusively target your leader here, for obvious reasons, because she's basically trying to accomplish the exact same thing. So it's just cool to see that little element put in there. All right, persuade you. Come on, 35%. Surely at some point she wants to join. No, and proceed with this this fight here. So, given that there is no kill counter individually assigned for these particular units here, I figure the way that we handle this is we have this unit be executed by one of their own units. That way we're not doing it ourselves, I guess. Is that arguably more or less pacifist? I don't know, but it feels like in this particular situation, it would just be the appropriate way to do it, I guess? Again, I don't know. Maybe we have a dedicated executioner, you know? Does that work? Maybe. I don't know. What are they going to decide to do, though? They're all just going to pull out their bows and fire? Fantastic. And their accuracy sucks. There we go. Now, is that better or worse? I'm kind of the mind that it's technically kind of sort of worse. And we'll have to figure out later which one of them was actually the one that took the shot. I think it was Kajiro there that took the shot. We'll see if he gets fired. I feel like in this particular instance, like they're kind of put in a position where they kind of have to do it. She's clearly not not calming down at all, so you could make the argument that we're trying to talk her down and it's just not working. I don't know. We'll put that one up for a vote. We'll see if Kojiro gets kicked off the team. In the classic version, it's clearly right there on the stat sheet of they clearly killed a guy. In this case, it's not directly held against them. It's held against the party at large. It was a kill that was unavoidable anyway, and technically speaking, it was, we achieved a more peaceful result by essentially talking everybody down, give or take. I don't know. Well, whatever. We'll see what feedback says on that. Let's move on to the next one. Alrighty then. This gets us over to the PSP remake, Let Us Cling Together. Alright. So, first and foremost, as far as differences go, just so you know, we're going to be covering both the PSP version as well as Tactics Ogre 1 Vision, the absolutely incredible overhaul for it. But there's going to be a few things that I want to cover over the course of this run. But for the sake of visual distinction, just so you know, we will be using the standard graphics for Tactics Ogre PSP, and then we'll be using the there we go, that works. And then we'll be using the HD overhaul mod for the One Vision mod. So, okay. So, the way that character creation works in this one is that it's essentially a combination of random numbers as well as a personality test. So, you'll get a card drawing where there will be 5 tarot cards that are drawn. And they will give you different stat bonuses for each one, and additionally, you'll begin the game with these 5 tarot cards. This will become relevant later, but, you brew an elixir, what power will it hold? Obviously, order and obedience, because we want people to listen to us. Stars shoot across the night sky, what do you wish for? Success, from my friends, probably. You'll be granted a single piece of wisdom, well, obviously the secret to winning hearts, and then, of the many evils do, which is the most necessary? I mean, we're gonna have to steal people's characters, so there's that. In a fit of passion, you accidentally whoopsie your friend's girlfriend. How you did that, anyone's guess. It must be a really slippery hallway. Anyway, obviously, they took your recruit role and they joined your team. Obviously. That's clearly all that happened there. Moving on. Like the others, we'll be playing this one in fast forward. Now, mechanically speaking, it's worth noting that Tactics Ogre PSP is, if we're using the whole kind of family tree kind of description here, this would be the sort of tech bro that went off to California, failed 90% of what they attempted to do, but then that last 10% was really freaking cool. Anyways, they try a hell of a lot of stuff, but the ways that it lands or doesn't land are extremely random. Now, please don't take this as me criticizing this game. I absolutely love this game. Oh my god, is it overambitious, though? So, right from the get-go, what they've done with the skills is essentially, instead of saying every character is just their class and whatever they could do, they have piecemealed out everything. So classes don't have weapon specializations, instead they have a list of weapons that they can use, and then finisher skills that are used from those weapons. Instead of saying that a certain class has a racial bonus against another, like Dragoons had a damage bonus against dragons and beasts, instead... Okay, so that's going to have to get cut out. Apparently, the emulation station in the background decided to go frickin' nuts and just suddenly start playing previews. Fantastic. It's just been a black screen for, well, since yesterday, but okay, that's fine. Now's the moment that it decides to do something. Anyway, so like I was saying, in this particular case, instead of, classes having a racial bonus against something else, they would apply that to weapons, and then instead of armor having a racial bonus or a weapon having a racial bonus, they would still technically have a racial bonus, but it only applies when it's in a past armor state, but it also will give you an additional bonus towards achieving a penetration effect to get past armor. Like, it's just... They went tabletop bananas with this whole thing. Like, units don't have an element assigned to them anymore. Sure, it didn't do very much last time, but this time around, you rank up those elements as you use them. The sheer number of interactions that you can use to grind something up are absolutely insane. Then we have things like your resists to particular types of debuffs. You'll get immunities to these later. And then you've got passives that are in a constant arms race against each other. The remake, Reborn, received some criticism for the fact that they took out a lot of these passives. in reality, literally, it was just a case of most of these passives did not trigger unless they were in a specific situation. So, for example, Strengthen, if you didn't get past armor, like, it wasn't actually improving your ability to get past armor. If you got past armor, Strengthen would kick in. If you didn't, you were still doing Plink. If, for example, an attack was not affecting you with bonus damage, Fortify would not help. If you were already being resisted by, like, let's say you have True Strike and the other guy has Dodge, neither of you have a skill. The two just cancel each other out. It's just an arms race of passives between your different units, and God forbid you forget to bring the right paperwork and file your your permits to go use your right ranks of field alchemy to go use your items. What, you thought you could just wake somebody up from sleep? Fuck you. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue on. Okay, so in this version, they actually forgot to turn off your ability to actually remove the equipment from your other characters here. Additionally, your characters are reasonably hardy, so we can go ahead and take that stuff away. And additionally, we can make sure that Lance here is going to go ahead and get a hand axe, and Warren's going to do the rest of their offense. We're going to let everybody else get taken out. Unfortunately, we cannot remove Warren's spells. Anyway, so with that being said, we can go ahead and give ourselves a bow, which is basically, like, bows in general are, well, ranged attacks in general are freakishly powerful in this version. So we'll go ahead and put that there. And additionally, as you saw right there in the test save, we'll go ahead and be setting up a very particular route here. So what we want is we want to achieve a certain situation with our characters in the very beginning here. See, Tynemouth Hill is actually what's going to be used in order to get our recruit skill this time around. Again, all of them will gain access to recruit at roughly the same time. In this case, every character is able to use a recruit skill of some variety, and all of them will have access to debuff spells. Whether or not they have any accuracy with those debuff spells is a completely different story entirely, but eventually we'll get everybody to the point that they are invincible, able to shut down anything, and able to convince anyone of anything. The sheer depths that you can go through to completely break your units in half and break the balance in half is part of why folks generally like the PSP version to this day still. It's basically balanced in the same way as a lot of something like, let's say, Morrowind would be, where effectively it seems very difficult at first, and back in the day it was generally kind of seen by reviewers as being an extremely difficult game. But realistically, as soon as you realize things like, hey, if I use Anatomy and Recruit at the same time, people will just flock to my side. If I, for example, decide that I'm going to use a ranged weapon at any time, whoop-de-doo, somebody's finger slipped and your ranged weapons scale just freakishly high for reasons that are a bit unclear. In the case of let's say you wanted to do a unarmed only run, you theoretically could actually do that. I was doing a throwing rock only run a little while ago, simply by means of using Anatomy and Strengthen, just abusing the bizarre way this game handles leveling. Oh man, for a second there I thought I did the same thing again. This is like the fourth time I'm trying to do this. Basically, this first episode of the Pacifist run has been recorded for about 2 weeks in various attempts. Anyway, I thought I muted myself yet again. Anyway, so yeah, let's just go ahead and continue on here. So what we're actually going to do is, did we start with a no, we did not. Basically, if you have the means to breach this guy, this gives you a pretty notable bonus, because you can suddenly redirect everybody's attacks over to him to make sure that you can save these other guys. Now, Warren is actually a bit of a helpful buddy to us here, because he will, every other attack, he will go ahead and put on a Ray of Paralysis here, or I guess Paralytic Wave in this version, in order to keep them healthy. Additionally, Casual will continuously heal anybody nearby her. But as strange as this sounds, we want to make sure that all of these other characters are actually killed off over the course of this particular fight. We want to get their leader as weak as possible, but we want to make sure that that we are going to be the last one standing once all is said and done. Unfortunately, this is going to require a little bit of luck here. We can thankfully spare most of those units, because Bapal will end up charging his way on forward, which means that our Astromancer here will go ahead and weaken him for us, at which point we can go ahead and take Warren out of the fight. in order to make sure that he's not doing those kinds of shenanigans again. Hopefully we can keep him out of range, though spells in general in this particular fight are going to be reasonably high range. We need to take one more attack, but unfortunately, yeah, Warren is going to go ahead and take that guy out there, but we did manage to spare most of the soldiers there, so it's at least something. Now, this gives us a few points. We would have gotten more if we did it another way, but we can completely control this second fight. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and equip the Lombardia, because they didn't prevent you from doing that in specifically this version, and that is kind of hilarious. So what we're going to do is we're going to betray everybody. Now, see, in order to spare the most soldiers possible, we need to use somebody without counterattack, namely ourselves, in order to go and backstab everybody around. The only one that has any meaningful offensive potential is going to be this guy standing right in front of us, and he is now gone. What a shame! He has retreated! Oh no, who could have seen that coming? Now, with that said, we want to let everybody else charge forward. Our next target will be Vice. These guys will be doing nothing but 1 damage with their punches, and they'll basically keep everybody else busy, and sort of scatter them about so that we can get up to Mr. Ogre's up there. So either way, Vice is the only one with a weapon, because I forgot to take it off him, which sucks, but oh well. We'll cover the bizarreness of the leveling system to explain why we're doing this in a little bit, but we will be abusing the leveling system twice over the course of this initial kind of intro here. Now, Ogre's is within range, so we'll just go ahead and take out Vice, or at least take out most of him here. They'll go ahead and heal him up a little bit, but hopefully he should be finished off in pretty short order here. We still have a weapon on Lance, because I forgot to take it off him. Dang it! Technically speaking, we probably could spare 1 or 2 more people, but this isn't going to be a perfect run. This is going to be a very, very, very long kind of a series here, so just expect that there's going to be some quirks. Additionally, I should mention, in these earlier versions, you actually did not have... you didn't have any means to save your equipment. So, for example, you saw that the AI went and picked up a bag. That bag is deleted. Now, it's probably worth noting that in the classic version, the thing is not only deleted, they actually directly lie to you, saying, oh, the bag was empty. No, it wasn't. So yeah, Lands, unfortunately, is doing a pretty good job of keeping himself alive. That's a bit of a bummer, because we need him gone. So it looks like we're going to be spending 1 more round on this. Hello, Mr. Vice. Actually, you know what? We'll just go ahead and let them do their thing. We'll go over here. We'll use our way worse mending leaves in this one to give Ogre's a little bit more life, so that Lands doesn't actually kill him here, because he does have the skills to do it, potentially. Hopefully he has not got... He does have a finisher ready, but he's going to go ahead and go for the heal instead, thankfully. Because technically... Actually, no, he has a hand axe that I gave him, so he doesn't have the ability to use his skills, thankfully. Anyway, so they're going to go for Denim there. Vice is almost ready to be done here. And additionally, at this point, we'll go ahead and backstab Kashua for reasons that, again, will be clear later. So we'll go ahead and go for that. They will eventually... Are you serious? Okay, you know what? Whatever. That doesn't get to count. That was so dumb. I'm not resetting for situations like that. Basically, he dodged what would have been a near guaranteed hit in order to fatally kill... fatally kill, that's something. In order to kill off somebody there. Now, again, once again, we're going for the Order of Surrender here. Oh, man, I can't believe that happened. That sucks. Oh, well. Anyway, so we spared most of them. We're doing our best. Again, the best is all we can do. That's the important part. And for anyone getting into Tactics Ogre, it's one of those things that I would really recommend. If you're of that mindset, if you need to min-max absolutely everything, this thing is an unmanageable, gigantic thing on purpose. Please don't put yourself through that. You're basically going to stress yourself out without really getting much out of it. You're really going to get the least out of it trying to take it way too seriously. If you just play through and just roleplay and kind of do your best and just roll with the consequences, that's what this game is designed around. Okay, that being said, we got the meme warrior. So this is what happens when you say no to all of the questions. You get a warrior that will have training in axes and fists, as well as a short sword, as well as the fact that she is a Wallister. Basically, this is the worst possible unit you could possibly get at the very start, because, again, she doesn't have a weapon that matches her stuff. We can't give her a different weapon. It would take very little effort. But firing her gives us all of her equipment without wasting her points. So we're going to go ahead and fire her. We're going to go ahead and fire this archer. And you might be wondering, why am I firing these initial units? Are generics just bad? Should I only use uniques? No. Please don't be that guy. No, yeah, generics are fantastic. They're going to do just fine. You technically get a small speed bonus when using uniques. That isn't always necessarily always a good thing. But what we can do is we can actually go to the shop here and hire several new ones. It's just that the new hires come with, well, 100 points that they haven't spent yet, whereas those guys spend them all on 2 redundant skills that they're not really going to use. So, you know. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and hire 3 of each. Alignments don't really matter in this one, except for the fact that lawful units will be unable to counterattack friendly units. So if you decide to counterattack them, they won't be able to counterattack. That's not necessarily a good thing either, because sometimes you do want your units to counterattack each other in order to be able to reap the benefits of that. But for the time being, all we really need to get this pacifist run going is to turn Denim into one of these dudes. So what we need is we need to get Vice completely unequipped and killed as soon as possible. We've got several rune fencers, and we're going to go ahead and go to the shop here and buy several short bows. So we're going to go ahead and buy, looks like we need 4 more of them. Did the music change, really? That's what we're doing here today? Alright, whatever. There we go. I forgot to turn on loop mode. I apologize. It's playing very quietly in the background, so I may miss something here or there. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to buy several war rings, because getting past defenses is the most important thing in this version. So having enough armor threshold and being able to punch past enemy threshold is how you get through your fights quickly and efficiently. So we're going to go ahead and run short bows on these guys. We're not going to train them on any weapon skills just yet. This will be enough by itself to get the job done. So we'll go ahead and give them these rings. Do we have any shields? Fantastic. Go ahead and put some shields on. I think I have some extra... Do I have any extra bucklers on you? No. Well, it's fine. Whatever. Some basic armor will do the job. They don't really need the linen slops, however they will have a dexterity bonus, which will improve their offense a little bit. You actually get a decent bit of extra speed by keeping your armor lightweight in this one. And additionally, you get better stat bonuses on a lot of the lighter pieces of equipment. Again, don't worry about achieving optimal things at all times, it just matters in this situation. That's why I care. Alright, next up we'll also need a short bow, or another short bow rather. And that should give us everything we need. Later on down the line, we'll probably be running the classic bowgun plus short bow, but for the time being, this is what we've got. So we'll go ahead and save it right there. And he is currently a warrior, but we need him to be a fencer. See, in order to get access to recruit, those recruit skills are actually locked behind particular classes in this version. So, in order to get access to those, what we need is to make sure that we are at least level 5 in a class that can recruit. The first thing that we need to do is make sure that we have the basic recruit skill available, and additionally, we want to make sure that Canopus is ideally gone. If we can get him gone, fantastic. We may not necessarily be able to do so. He might have to be the one that gets the kill. If he does, we're still fine. We just have to make sure that Casualty and Vice are out of here. Alright, so go ahead and do that. Unfortunately, there's very little that we can do if Vice has any armor equipped, so that's why we took away all of his stuff beforehand. Being at only a single level with no additional stats, Denim is probably the only one that's going to be able to meaningfully manage to hurt Canopus here, to ensure that he does not get any kills, because we don't have many options to actually shut anything down just yet. We could have access to some debuffs, but for the moment, we want to ideally try to plink him down a little bit. For everybody else, they probably will be barely able to hurt him, but with any luck, everybody else can get within range, so that hopefully he feels a little bit less aggressive, and we can use our short bows to finish off Orba before the fight gets any worse. Again, our primary kind of pacifist goal here is to ensure that we are ending the conflict with as little damage as possible to everybody. As little loss of life as humanly available. There we go. It's pretty consistent that that one will go after him. You can just follow up with another short bow shot if needed. Anyway, he's pretty close at this point. If we can... Where's the injured guy? Who is injured? You're injured. Okay, protect the injured unit. go ahead and heal her up as best we can, because we have no means of actually chatting with her just yet. We did have the option to start negotiating a little bit in previous versions by this point, but we will be one fight later. We'll be recruiting it as, or we will be kind of attaining that that ability as time goes on. Can you reach? You should be able to make that shot. There we go. Now, Canopus also comes in with a long-range attack of his own, so he can still finish off some units, but in most situations, due to the fact that the PSP version did not go hyper-nutty with giving him insane stats, as we saw before, he actually will be able to, he will be more often than not targeting the wizard here. Additionally, this wizard actually has a bunch of background lore that he's the one that did a lot of the artwork in one of the capitals, which we'll see later. Now, we're going to go ahead and recruit him now, since again that kill was mandatory, and it ended the conflict, saving everyone else's lives. We're kind of using police logic, I suppose. Anyway, so with that said, this means that we now have access to recruit, which means that we have at least one character that's able to recruit immediately, and additionally, down the road, we'll be able to use Fey Pact on Canopus. He's going to go ahead and remain in his current class, courtesy of the fact that we need to make sure that these guys don't go too nuts. Strange as it sounds, as you might have already picked up on, this game uses class levels. So this means that the more of a particular unit that you have in a fight, the more experience that particular class gains. This is why we're going to kill off low-level units whenever we see them, or at least retreat them out of those fights in order to make sure that we get that experience, at least to as much of a degree as possible. There is a low-level experience scaling fix. I'm not going to be using that because I know I inevitably would turn it on at the wrong time, and it would just screw stuff up. So, for the purpose of keeping stuff mostly vanilla, for both this and One Vision, I will be keeping it off. Actually, maybe for vanilla I should keep it active. We'll see. Anyway, so in this particular case, we went for the Rune Fencer because this will be the most generally viable class to give us access to recruit immediately. Technically, the Knight can learn it as well, but you don't get enough Knight class marks to be able to get that up to 5 in order to have access to recruit. So you only get 3 at the very start. You'll end up getting at a max level of 4, even if you get all the experience on them, so that would kind of suck. As one way or another, it would be split. I mean, theoretically, it's maybe possible, but also we're just going to go ahead and assume it won't be. Anyway, so with all of that being said, that's why we went for that one. Technically, the Cleric can also go ahead and learn it, but yeah, the Cleric is something we're going to use a bit more later. The Cleric is dicier than you'd expect in this version. Anyway, with that said, we now have access to Recruit. We're one fight away from being able to use Recruit on everybody else, but additionally, we'll be able to use Recruit to save the 2 soldiers in here, and we'll be able to proceed on with getting Recruit for everybody else. Anyways, I gotta get going. Y'all have a good one. Let's move on to One Vision. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get this thing started. So this is going to be Tactics Ogre One Vision, essentially a version of the PSP Tactics Ogre that perfects everything that it attempted to do. Whereas Tactics Ogre PSP was extremely overambitious in a lot of ways, One Vision essentially brings in it essentially brings a lot of the ideas it had full circle, while keeping a lot of the original overambition, because obviously this thing has had like 6+ years of development at this point, I think. And additionally, it brings in a lot of the ideas that Reborn had. It brings in, courtesy of the Tactics Ogre HD mod, which was originally a completely unrelated thing, that allows for bringing in Reborn's visuals in a lot of situations, as well as Rakes, the creator of the mod, did actually end up custom creating most of the visuals that you'll see for UI elements and stuff like that for this one. So either way, this is the type of mod that you typically don't see that often. I mean, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, this is one of, if not the best, fan mod ever created. So anyway, this is going to be Chatty Chicken. Now, there's a few different routing things that I considered for this originally way more planned out route here, because originally what I was trying to do when I was originally keeping, did I say originally enough, keeping that rule where I couldn't order any violent actions at all, what I was trying to do was specifically get Butt Spartan as one of your cards here in order to be able to get access to a breach, in order to be able to use that to be able to go and redirect the AI in order to go kill off the guys in the intro, and then steal the Lombardia because now they're, able to use it at a different time and what have you. But realistically, we're fine just as long as the lower casualty amount happens. So let's go ahead and get to it here. So of the many, I should probably mention, we will be answering the questions differently this time around. See, in this particular case, we want to turn Denim functionally invisible to the AI at the very start. And the actual character creation stuff here has changed. So, like, let's say we have our guy here that's talking about the evils that they'll do and all that. The left answer, instead of being something completely random, will be a random stat bonus that we get from the card itself, as well as 3 stat bonuses to move us towards one of the 3 archetypes that One Vision uses in terms of a kind of a strong build, speedy build, or magical build. Each of them has different benefits for different situations, and it's actually something that all units will be running to some degree. Most of them will be completely towards one direction or the other, but you will still have the occasional person with completely random stats running around. This is worth noting because One Vision makes it a lot harder to actually raise your base stats. Like last time we had a split wherein the base stats of your unit could be raised up every time somebody got a new class level. I don't think I actually went into that enough. Probably because we'll be going into more of that in episode 2. But anyways, in this one, you actually don't have those bonuses. So the stats that you start with actually do matter for quite a decently long time. It is very difficult to change your base stats. So it's a combination of the class and the modifications that it does, combined with the base stats of your unit, that cause a very consistent feeling to a lot of the things that this game does. Additionally, as I mentioned before, I apologize if you hear the puppy learning to sing the song of their people off in the background there. I'm really hoping that I can find a way to edit that out, or that it's not coming through at all, because it's very inconsistent. So in this particular case, what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 options to the left to improve our strength and vitality 4 times, and then we'll take 1 to the right. And hey, we actually ended up getting Butt Spartan after all. So for those that wanted to see the appearance of Butt Spartan, here we go. They need to preserve their allies. This will give us the ability to breach one target, because, like the PSP version before it, this actually does still have the ability to make use of those cards at the very start. See, I probably didn't go into those that much in the PSP version, but the cards are there as a bit of a failsafe. There's a lot of items that the game wants you to have over the course of your playthrough, and in a lot of cases, players generally will not actually go and stock themselves up beforehand. So what ends up happening in this particular situation is that those cards where there is a failsafe, in order to make sure that you still have access to those buffs, those debuffs, all that kind of thing. In this case, it ends up helping out in a completely different way than last time. So we're going to go ahead and accept the peace offering from these guys, since I guess arguably it's a bit more of a peaceful option. And we'll also go ahead and completely remove their equipment. See, what we need is actually no different classes whatsoever, but what we do need is for Vice to become an absolute sociopath. So he's going to get access to the Lombardia right away. He's also going to get access to Canopus's Defender Ring. This will make him a lot more tanky, and will functionally allow him to potentially solo the entire first map here. Downside is we also have to make sure that Casualty gets taken out of her own volition, because she is actually offensive this time around. See, her class was always able to use the Divine Magic attack here, but unfortunately, well, I guess fortunately for this playthrough, but back in PSP, she actually would only use it if you ended up giving it to her specifically. So we're going to go ahead and save right there, and we're going to go ahead and go to Almorica. So what happened with One Vision is that they actually changed the way that basically everything works. Everything that you know about PSP, throw that out the window and replace it with something better. Because not only are all those constantly warring passives removed with something more interesting, every skill has been given a more interesting function. Again, this has been kind of tailored to suit for a very long time. So you still have access to all of your basic skills, but for example, when you hire a new character, they will come in trained up with multiple skills, instead of simply given one, and then told, hey, you can totally grind for these other options, you're totally not locked in, even though you're totally locked in and we all know it. So, you know, for example, if you recruited Saria, she would know how to use two-handers, one-handers, and spears, instead of simply, like, she knows how to use swords and spears at kind of crappy ranks, and then knows how to use augments but hasn't ranked them up, that kind of stuff. So they will come in with full class loadouts. Additionally, anything that you're wondering about kind of mechanics-wise, limitation-wise, like for example, when you recruit a unit, they only use the first 4 skills. That is still hard baked into the game, but you can still use, for example, your cheat options. If I can go to them right here. Sorry, I got to switch windows real quick. Nope, not that one. Okay, that button. So like we go over to our cheats, and this version would give you a lot of the quality of life features that you'd see in for example, Reborn. So like we will be keeping low-level experience scaling because this is something that the mod recommends. But for example, recruits keeping all skills, keeping all equipment, removing innate immunities from bosses, things like that, setting units to particular levels, renaming your units and things like that, which is a bit more clunky, but it's fine. Force deploying guests for experience, which Reborn solved with the charm system. Incapacitated units being warped away instead of knocked out if you don't like that mechanic, or enemy pickups go to player, which is basically the One Vision equivalent of stealing your stuff back. I did promise that I would include a cheat list, by the way, when I started Pacifist, so everything that I have on the cheat list I'll include as a just extra thing in the description, so use those as you see fit. Again, the cheats are not simply for cheating, they are there for just kind of tailoring the experience to your liking. Alright, anyway, so you might notice we will cover a lot of these other things as we go along, but we actually have access to Recruit right away, and additionally it is 20 points cheaper than it was last time. If you're wondering what these wards are, by the way, they're basically the same as a combination of the resists and immunities from before that function almost identically to how the necklaces work in Unicorn Overlord, where you become immune to those particular debuffs, but additionally you can use them to clear a nearby enemy of those debuffs as well. And I mentioned before that things have new features, so like Trajectory was just a targeting line back in PSP, so many viewed it as, despite it being useful information, most just internalized the weapon ranges and just never bothered using it ever again. Then we have, for example, in Reborn, it just became part of the system that everybody has Trajectory on at all times, and it works for spells finally. In this case, it was given an additional function being combined with the old function of Back Attack. So it's now renamed as Feint, and will essentially give you that targeting line, but additionally, for example, say it's raining, you can now act as if you're firing from behind, or you can act as if you're it essentially just gives you a small, very cheap accuracy boost for a lot of situations, or for example, Squash can be used to break any prop rather than just particular props. Anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it here, because we need to get our warriors up to 5 before the end of this fight. So we go into Almarca here, we go through our usual intro. You'll notice that courtesy of the HD mod, this is looking way nicer. And I've actually gone ahead and kind of had a question up there a few times as to whether or not I should put this one kind of second to last or actually last in the list, because technically the initial One Vision came out before Reborn, but it also has the latest, it's had like 6 updates since Reborn launched, so, you know, hell, not even that. I think 1.0 launched at that point. Technically, we're at 1.0. You know, it's 7 updates since Reborn launched. So yeah, this is still getting regular updates. It's still regularly getting new features, and we'll cover those new features as they become relevant. Because frankly, I've tried to make entire videos of just like a basic blush over the new features of this mod, and even then it took me over an hour, and even then it still barely scratched the surface. So you know, that's not going anywhere. All right, cool. Knock the thing out again, man. On an absolute winning tear here today. So let's let's get to it here. So no matter who I sent out with the Lombardia, they would usually end up just kind of slicing and dicing their way through the entire party before we actually did anything. So as it stands right now, we have Warren that's going to be immediately giving us issues in terms of attacking people. Also, if you notice the occasional flicker, that's actually a thing with the HD mod and something to do with the emulator. I'm sure there's a way to fix it, but basically the first time a texture that the game doesn't see all the time comes out, it will have a... essentially, it'll just suddenly decide, you know what, I need to kind of quickly transform it into this other texture, so it tries to transform it on the fly. It looks a little funky, but again, it's fine. So anyways, with the armor removed from all of these guys that will hopefully prevent them from going and punching everything to death. Casual will attempt to keep us healed up as long as we're going and being aggressive. And additionally, due to the fact that they can kind of smell blood in the water, so to speak, they will generally advance pretty aggressively here. So hopefully we can get within range of Mr. Bapal up there. Additionally, due to being slightly closer and movement range being extended naturally in this in One Vision here, this puts us in a position where we can get close to him a lot sooner. So hopefully the White Knights end up getting taken out. Again, it needs to be specifically Vice and us that survive. Vice has been left with a fist weapon that causes him to stun on hit. And if you're wondering why you're seeing way more debuffs flying around in that particular vein, and why especially you'll see more and more of those as time progresses here, it's because of the fact that One Vision adds a lot of features to weapons. So, for example, when it comes to dealing damage with your fists and stuff like that, your basic fist weapons are no longer just a hard damage option. They will be primarily for debuff. So, like the blunt fists will be inflicting stun on hit. The ones with claws will be poisoned. There are certain other claws that essentially will be clawing MP out of somebody's head if they hit. So there's a lot of additional functions, and you won't be able to see them here because we took his weapon away, but Lance here actually has a lot of the finishers, well, not finishers, but a lot of the Holy Blade moves from FFT. That's why we have FFT music in the background, because pretty much every skill, ability, and whatever else was in the original PSP version for this game, but when it comes to One Vision, they brought in everything else. So like the cursed weapons got turned into the Zodiac weapons. We actually still have Snapdragon weapons of a different form. We have the Paladin and Freya getting access to the different Holy Knight abilities. We've got the Draw Out ability on the two-handed katanas. We've got access to well, the throwing rocks are always pretty good, but they act a bit more like the FFT throwing rocks. We've got access to geomancies. Like there's plenty, okay? There's an absolute ton in this mod. It is ridiculously ambitious. But anyways, we only had one casualty, so far that is the least casualties. So that's pretty good there. So yeah, that gets them saved, and we're additionally gonna go ahead and take that off of him in this particular case, because he's gonna be a little bit stronger this time around. Go ahead and save over Chatty Chicken here, and proceed to El Marca Passageway. Alright. So that said, once again, we do have to take out the offensively capable casters, and then the rest will just sort of buy time while we end up getting close. And as I mentioned before, due to having that Chariot card on hand, this will provide us with the opportunity to potentially breach our target there if we are out of range, though I would expect we'll probably just do 2 attacks, and that'll be the end of that. So, thankfully, with the second one, they're a little bit less threatening towards all these random soldiers, but still, they can still deck them pretty darn good. For some reason, those initial soldiers are a little bit weaker than the others, so they will regularly throw out pretty devastating punches. So we'll go ahead and injure Kashua here, but we won't completely finish her off yet. If we need to, we'll use throwing rocks, but we might need her healing. We'll see. So her throwing rocks or hitting her with throwing rocks is going to be pretty reasonably effective, but I'm expecting we'll probably need to take a couple hits because Aguirre's has not actually moved forward. So we'll let the archers mostly deal with Kashua. They will approach pretty soonish. The other fighters we don't have to worry about. We don't have a counterattack, so it's not too much of an issue. There we go. Didn't unbind it. We just don't get access to the chess roll yet. To explain what that is, so specifically in this version, like in PSP and One Vision, if you use the Chariot button, you can undo your last action. So basically, if you end up misclicking, like I did right there, you can undo a misclick. Now, the reason why it was there in the PSP version, presumably, is due to the fact that there's a ton that can go wrong from a single misclick. That potentially you could lose an entire fight from just pressing the wrong button one time, and that's a bit of a bummer. So they actually ended up changing that in Reborn, to which you basically would just be locked into your actions, and it would, like, you still have the ability to undo your actions if you want to, but it will count against you as a Chariot usage. When you do the chess roll, as I like to call it here, it does not count as a Chariot usage, which essentially means as long as you're not, directly abusing that, this means that you can kind of undo misclicks, and that's all well and neat. Now, That said, we're going to go ahead and, again, not abuse the thing. I was hoping to go use the correct weapon there so we didn't lose a turn, but it's fine. It's not actually unlocked yet. So this now puts us in a position where Vice will start getting battered around a bit, but we gotta... Actually, that was a very lucky crit, because we want to get close to him here. There we go, perfect. If we can go ahead and get this guy killed off right now, and then kill off Vice on top of it at just the right moment, we should be able to create a moment where we end up getting just enough experience to get to 5, and additionally should have enough to be able to get our full training situation going. But unfortunately, we can't reach Vice, and we would be dead if we tried to hold out, so we're just going to go ahead and accept a technically slightly suboptimal answer here. So there we go, that's taken out. We're at 5. We get the skill unlocked, but we don't quite have the points. So once again, will be the Order of Surrender, as you'd kind of expect by this point. Alright. There we go, DR, perfect. Right, and then we get our initial starters. In this particular case, once again, we get the meme Amazon. Do you want to recruit them? No. Now, I should point out, even though we're telling them no, we actually get additional equipment due to the fact that we gave them a slightly higher level. So we will still get those male chausses, for example. The archer here is actually set up in a pretty useful way, so we'll go ahead and use him. Sorceress as well. You may notice by their stats over there, they're actually all trained for their particular job as well. So, for example, when we saw the archer, they actually were preferring dex and accuracy. When it comes to our Valkyrie, they're going to be more of a mixed bag, because generally that's what you want. Currently, she is still trained like the PSP version, so she's going to get kicked out because there's nothing too special there. But from this point, we can just go ahead and get ready to do our whole recruiting thing. So we're actually where we want to be with the warriors, but additionally we want to get access to other recruit types as well. So to that end, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our classes here real quick, just to kind of go over these real quick. So if we go over to what we can learn, actually, I think I... Yeah, okay. That menu won't show it to us, but if we go over to here, we now have a Fey Pact on our sorceresses, and we now have Cokes available over on our archers. So what we're actually going to do is run several archers at this point, rather than the other ones, in order to get multiple recruits at the same time. Alright, so let's go ahead and actually, we're just going to go ahead and just hire several archers as they are, so that they have those additional points. So we'll go ahead and hire the first one here, we'll go ahead and hire another one here. Oh man, I really hope them... I save those pups. Realistically, it is one of the puppies that just discover their voice, and it's just the coolest thing ever to them right now. So just like, hey, look, the cat came by. Oh my god, guys, let me sing you the song of my people. Oh man, it is... It's that weird mix of like, yes, this is super endearing the first time you see it, and then they start doing that in the middle of the night, the middle of the day, the middle of everything. It's just like, ah, oh, please stop. Please stop. Okay. So, quick little notes here. We're going to go for a similar approach to last time in terms of getting them offensively set up here. We want to obviously have a lot of range, and additionally we want to make sure that they're getting lots of recruiting going. We'll actually go ahead and hire 2 more just to have them here. We're not going to bother renaming them. There we go. And we'll go ahead and buy several rings as well. So we'll buy 8 of those. And we don't really have much money to buy anything else at this point. Bit of a bummer, but it's fine. We will only need to take about 1 shot with each of them because, this game understands how armor works really well, and that's just a dang good time. We'll actually go ahead and take away this guy's equipment. Actually, you know what? We might as well just fire him entirely. Well, he actually already has some skill, so we'll go ahead and just remove his bow for the time being. He already has a little bit of training. These other ones are going to be more recruit-centric. So we could essentially swap them into warriors at any time in order to have them use the warrior skills in order to get recruit. And at the same time, we can give them any other recruit skills that they like at the same time. So we'll go ahead and use these archers. Blop, blop, blop. Pop you all in there. We'll go ahead and make sure that Vice is fully unequipped, because we do not need any experience on him. It would just be a waste. Same thing for Kashwa, who has been made weaker for this particular thing. And let's go ahead, and I accidentally took out one guy. That's a bit of a whoopsie. It's going to potentially screw us over. Hopefully not. So Vice is going to go forward, and thankfully, due to this being one vision, we have control over these guys. So to that end, we're just going to go ahead and attempt to hit Casualty first of all. We'll also attempt to hit Vice. We'll see how well that goes. He still has his counterattack from before. We probably should have done something about that, but these are those situations where trajectory would be incredibly useful. You might also notice that the default bow actually is a long bow instead of a short bow, so you don't have to deal with the awkward short bow phase. And additionally, we'll go ahead and have Canopus do his thing here. You'll notice he comes with the same spear that he did in SNES, but there's also one-headed spears now, so that's a thing too. Come to think of it, actually, it probably does make sense to keep a Vice in here, because low levels will end up getting additional experience, so this is actually fine. Now, we could make the argument for potentially taking out Canopus here, and we're not going to. So when it comes to Canopus, he is actually a proper unique class in this version, so if he survives, great, fantastic. If he doesn't, then we'll kind of deal with that as we will. But as far as his class goes, he is basically the premier regeneration tank of this game, basically running high evasion as well as kind of a self-reproducing, what the hell would you even call it? Just regeneration. The dude regenerates. It's great. Okay, so let's just go for that. Yeah, I technically shot at the tile behind him, but it's fine. He's going to go ahead and take that guy out, as he does. Alright, let's go ahead and deal with this guy, please. There we go. You'll notice that he is definitely a lot tougher than he was in the PSP version, but nowhere near as bullshit as he was in the classic version. Again, something that you'll notice pretty regularly, that they generally want you to have a bit more game. They want you to actually kind of struggle against some of the bosses and such, but they won't be to the point where it feels like, you know, this guy has just been juicing to a degree that is completely unfathomable. So there's that. I should also mention the weird flicker effect. It only seems to come up on some things. So, like, for example, when we saw the flicker earlier, it was on the great bow. Once again, it's on the great bow. It's weird like that. As another little mechanical note to mention here, it's also worth noting that shields, as you saw earlier, basically are near guaranteed to hit every time. So let's go ahead and see where our class one wound up. Do you want to recruit this unit? Yes, absolutely. I'm not too worried about the about where the archers wound up, though they did wind up exactly where they needed to be, so that's nice. They won't have the points to get their recruit until one more fight anyway. It's just good to see that up there. So anyways, this gives us access to our basic recruit right here, as well as gives us access to Cokes, so we have the majority of what we're going to need for the early game already ready to go. And additionally, for any subduing, we'll be able to get that relatively soonish, as soon as we hit Rhyme. Yeah. So that's kind of about that. So, oh, I should probably also mention, we'll be able to actually recruit several more units in this one, because we can get all of the undead on our side from the early game, because we can recruit zombies, or rather, we can recruit the skeletons and ghosts, I should say. We can recruit Umbra, because, well, actually not in the first chapter. Oh, we can recruit some of them. We'll get to that in a little bit. We will actually need to use a similar level up trick. We actually basically, in order to be able to fully spare and recruit all of the undead units, we needed to go and specifically get recruit in order to be able to actually clear Tynemouth Hill. So we get Cokes and we get recruit, and that means Tynemouth Hill is now basically our oyster. If we wanted to just go break the game to the point of getting end game equipment, we can do that now. So either way, we'll see what folks want to see. If you want to see everything snapped in half right from the get-go, I will gladly do so. Just, you know, let me know. Obviously, this is going to be a bit of a we'll see how it goes type thing, and now we can go ahead and move on to Reborn. Alright, and finally, this gets us over to TOR. So I don't have the name properly done here for this one, so my bad. Their name's just going to be Mr. Anderson for this first one. You got to do a certain number of fights, and for some reason, even though I could have sworn I did more than 50 since last time, it's still just that. Also, this will be the main one that ends up continuing to use this, well, just kind of running everything vanilla here. Okay, so, in Reborn, the stats are still basically more or less randomized here. So what we're going to do is just kind of pick the ones that seem a little bit appropriate for our situation. The cards that we get at the very start will affect our stats, but they won't really be in our inventory or anything, so we don't need to worry about that much. Anyways, we treat for peace. Main difference that happens here is the elements. This is the first time that the elements actually started to matter in the series, like outside of maybe the original Ogre battle. So there we go. So with that being said, let's go ahead and pick our element here. I'm just going to go ahead for the sake of safety and go ice, because an ice longbow is very, very helpful for the early game here, especially for ending one of the fights near instantly. It's the same thing that is used during the speedrun. So, this goes ahead and gets us started. Ice character, I don't know what kind of stats we're going to end up rolling. We're going to get whatever we get. So the intro in this one, once again, is not necessarily something that we can do very much about. So we'll go ahead and skip through some initial stuff. Vice is going to do his usual stuff. We're just going to go ahead and sit still and or try to leave. We'll also go ahead and pop that on right here so that we have our fast forward going. So we're going to go ahead and go this way. And additionally, we're going to go ahead and pop the elemental bars on, and now we're facing that way. So, interesting note is actually in the classic version there is actually a chance for Vice to hit Canopus, but yeah, it doesn't end up actually happening in this situation. It's always 0% in every other version, but that one in particular, for some reason, there's still technically a chance. I think they're scripted to always miss, but still. So we'll go ahead and just go directly for the castle, because there's really not much that we can do as of so far. Also, Almarca Castle is pretty proper fucked up. Well, I suppose it doesn't get more pacifist than being the only one that's left unconscious out of this whole mess. Anyway, so we couldn't exactly stop anybody because we weren't exactly conscious. Okay, we're very morally justified. Now, let's go ahead and continue on here. So we should get our meads right here. Yeah, there they are. Okay, so this time we'll actually make some use of them. Alright, so we got our levels. Now, again, to clarify, this stuff is ridiculously good. That's why, that's why it's kind of a bit of a big deal that we end up using this here. Also, spoilers on the test file, of course, as far as what our plan is, but, I mean, that should already be pretty obvious. But we're going to go ahead and use these over here, as well as pick up some mend leaves to hopefully help out our dudes there. Not going to be taking anything additional here, and also we want to make sure that we actually get there, so let's go ahead and do that. And we should be all set to go. Even if you give these items to those guys, the AI is set not to use... So one of the big differences, and one of the things that this game got criticized for that I honestly think is a better change than it has than it gets credit for, is the whole debuff thing. So the AI is scripted to not use debuff items or debuff spells. Now this might seem like, hey, it's reducing the options, but in reality what it's doing is that it is going and prioritizing AI, or it's prioritizing the debuffs from finishers, and it's also prioritizing the debuffs from monster units. So basically what this does is it causes options that were basically dead content from before to now have a little bit more of a thing. I probably should mention finishers real quick. So there's something that we've seen some of in the other versions. Basically, both PSP and One Vision start you off with finishers right from the get-go. You've got units that are going to use finishers in the introduction. However, in One Vision, you no longer have anyone with access to a finisher by the time that intro ends. Additionally, in PSP, you have Canopus, who is just basically going to completely curb stomp everything in your way because he has access to 2 finishers right away. It's kind of nuts. In SNES, you don't get finishers finishers until Chapter 4, and you may never get them whatsoever. In Reborn, the way that they handle it is that your weapon skill is tied to your level, your maximum level is tied to your story progression, so you basically cannot get certain finishers before certain points. They don't really scale linearly, like basically everyone is just a different option at a different time, but for example, a fist finisher would be very useful at the end of Chapter 1 for basically insta-deleting ice units. Like a breach plus a finisher will oftentimes completely eliminate a unit from the field. And that's usually where you get your massive numbers from. So this creates a thing where it's giving you a reason to want to use a lot of different weapon types, as well as a lot of just kind of different unit types in general to keep that variety around. There is no one unit that's stronger than everybody else, because variety is how you end up getting ahead here. Now, there we go. We have our guy going ahead, and nearby his other melee units, he's typically going to end up being the one that ends up getting targeted. But again, typically. Sometimes it will decide not to do so. He takes dramatically more damage versus attacks at this point, but unfortunately, sometimes the AI will refuse to do that. And truth be told, I haven't tested this trick out this much in this version, so there's a non-zero chance that the AI is actually scripted to go kill everybody before killing him. Honestly, I don't know. But one of the things that they do prioritize, or seem to prioritize, is making sure that you get access to all of your debuff items, which is basically what you're getting off of all of these different random units. So if honestly, it would not be out of the realm of possibility, given the way that they typically design things, for them to strictly ignore the guy that's been breached here in order to specifically kill everybody else. That's an interesting change, but alright. So, like, especially when it comes to Murden there, I definitely would have expected him to go and take this guy out, which means that this trick would primarily be useful in situations where, for example, you're set up with a pincer. Like, I forget if Vice is carrying one right now, but I guess we're about to find out in a moment, and he knocked him out of the way of it anyway. Fantastic. Anyway, but either way, so we can't spare these guys in the intro if that's the case. Bit of a bummer. But either way, we will now get access to our night marks, which will give us access to more things from there. So the one thing that Reborn does change that does affect our run directly is the fact that units have to be of a particular class. They can't cross-class their recruitment skills. They can cross-class a bunch of other things, but specifically not... Okay, so correction. The actual better way to do this, to get even more units spared, is we're actually going to go ahead and go into training. So basically, what we want, and we're actually going to leave him as a warrior here instead of going to knight. So the reason that we're doing this is we get access to a training map earlier than in the other versions. This time we're able to go into training mode immediately upon getting out of, immediately after clearing Almorica. Now what this creates is a situation where we can get up to level 5 in order to get access to recruit. And since these guys are technically not kills, we don't have to worry about accidentally killing them off, which means that we can spare more of those units in Tynemouth Hill. So we'll go ahead and do this at this point, and this is basically where this one ends. We just get recruit on knights and rune fencers, and since units are leveled individually instead of the classes, this means that all of our recruits just immediately have access to all of their recruit skills right away. We have Coax immediately available over on our casters. We're going to have access to our recruit on our knights and rune fencers. We have access to Seraph's Pact on our healers. Just in general, we have everything immediately. So it ends up opening up a lot of doors without any additional hiccups there. It's one of many ways that Reborn basically just made the experience overall smoother in a lot of different ways. And to some, that's a downside. To me, I think that given how long the game is, and especially given how many different asterisks there are to everything about it, this is a far, far smoother introduction, because realistically you don't need 80 billion things right in the introduction, but it would be really, really nice to be able to just immediately get into the game and actually see stuff happening. So you immediately have access to counterattack from your spear unit, teaching you that that's a thing. You immediately have access to your healer, your other units. There's no reason to immediately fire your starting characters, because they aren't built in some bizarro way. You have access to a lot of your debuffs, but not a, again, overwhelming amount of stuff right from the get-go, so either way, it's nice. And again, you actually start off with Spell Strike on your caster, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but it kind of is. Basically, it just means that you're able, well, or rather concentration, I should probably say. The reason that it's actually important is that it means that your caster is able to land their debuffs without any additional shenanigans, and there were definitely additional shenanigans back in PSP. In One Vision, less so, because it's just generally a better balanced version of PSP. I say generally, it is 100% just a better balanced version in all ways than PSP, but either way. So this will give us access to all of our recruit stuff in one convenient, cozy package. No hoops to jump through, no additional mechanics to learn. We're just basically good to go as we are. And additionally, we can, if we use offensive spells against undead, it will train him to use his cudgel finishers, because again, just everything is just nicer and more convenient in this version. I friggin' love this remake, because it's like so much anxiety over needing to learn specific mechanics just to enjoy the adaptive story that this game does. And immediately the first thing you gotta do to teach new players, like, oh, here's, you know, a million different things you gotta learn first. Like, here you go, here's this Bible of different information. And that, you know, that kind of, it was always a bit of a bummer there, so. Either way, I personally love to see it. But here we go. Let's go ahead and get some of these guys finished off. Quick little training fight, as you do. And these elemental advantages, they do matter quite a pretty significant amount. We'll get access to more ways to inflict those elemental damage situations as time goes on. For the moment, we just have the basic element on our soldiers, as well as the breach status that we can get on anyone using those items. And also, apparently, the dryer is singing the song of its people. Apologies for that. But okay, so all we gotta do is wrap these guys up. So, as a bit of a parting note, what I'd like to see from folks, as a bit of an outro here, is just, I'd like to see some feedback over the rule set. Like, do you agree with it? Not disagree with it? Don't get too serious with it. Like, this is just for fun, alright? No one's gonna judge anybody based off what we're seeing here, but I figure this is just a fun rule set that allows all the games to work pretty well, that we try to avoid as many casualties as we physically can, and if stuff doesn't work out, whatever, we still roll with it, you know? So to my mind, that's just a very cozy way of handling things. Stuff won't be perfect, but it will be interesting. So that's what I personally find to be the best kind of rule set. And that being said, yeah, I know that there will potentially be complaints about folks that were hoping to see the Saturn version a bit more. Again, it basically is the same. I was originally recording it off of the Saturn version. It didn't really change anything balance-wise. That hard mode, it didn't do shit, to be honest. Maybe it changes at some point, but at no point have I seen any functional difference off the hard mode of Saturn there. Maybe the default is just easier or something, I don't know. But either way, I didn't really see anything functionally different. Having access to the reputation mechanic is nice earlier on. Sorry, I messed up the thingy again. But yeah, having access to that kill counter is pretty important for a run like this, so obviously we're definitely going to be running the PS1 version. And yeah, are there any considerations that I'm maybe missing somewhere? Because I figure it's pretty obvious we're not doing law route. If anybody wants to make the argument for a law route, go for it. Mr. Warren, I'm assuming you've probably run the casualty numbers at some point. I'm surprised we haven't seen a casualty breakdown from your videos yet. But anyways, there. Due to having a Valkyrie in the team, we get everybody up to 4, and then we would just run this again to get everybody up to 5. So I gotta get going. I'm not gonna completely get everybody up to 5 right now. I'm just going to run it a second time for that particular reason, kind of off screen here, but that's kind of where we're wrapping it up for the moment. So that gives us access to all our recruit abilities right away. Definitely the most immediate availability in this version. So y'all have yourselves a good one. Take care, and yeah, whatever feedback you got, please leave it, and then we'll get that implemented before part 2. Hopefully I can get like one of these out a week or something. Anyway, y'all take care. If you like this stuff, do the whole subscribe-y thing, you know, that whole shtick. And, yeah, take care. Bye.